Muy buen día a cada una de ustedes. Muy buena tarde, muy buena noche. Qué alegría volvernos a
Good morning to all of you. Good afternoon, good night. I'm so happy that we're all here today again in this seminar, especially now that we have our sisters from Abya who are socializing their projects, and then another day we'll have our friends from Africa and Asia. But I think with all the energy that we have and we're sharing, is very exciting. This stage that as FIMI and as a participant from the certification, it's very important because you're going to show us what you're working on, and that's what we prepared the workshop for today. And the objective is to socialize, to exchange the different case study so that from that dialogue of knowledge and that exchange of knowledge, we can communicate what we consider necessary. So thank you for being here today. In our meeting, we have invited Alika Nayeli Santiago Trejo, and I leave Nadia the floor so that she can continue with the presentations, and then we will continue with our sisters. Thank you, Lore. Well, Alika, today we have the participation of two ex participants from the certification. They were a part of the past edition. And so Alika is going to be in charge today of spiritual harmonization. And then we will meet the other sister that will be accompanying us with another activity. Alika, go ahead. Thank you.
Hola, buenos días.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon to you all. Can you hear me? Yes, go ahead. Welcome. Thank you so much, Sister Lorena. Welcome to you. Good morning to you all, my sisters. First of all, I'm very happy to be here and share with you in this space, even though it's temporary. I'm very happy of having this invitation to open your work day. Today is a 9I day in our Mayan calendar. It's a very powerful day. I think it's a day that corresponds to the work that we're going to be doing today, which is where you're going to start to share your proposals for your research, the research of your people. So for day 9 is a day with a feminine energy and a day of power. It's a day where we can show power, we can show the truth. And it's a power born from women, from communities, but from women in this case. My grandmothers say that 9 is the Trinity, 3 times 3. So it is a number that implies for all of us strength, quality, certainty, impeccability of your work. And the I is the energy of the good, the wind. It's the day of the hummingbird. And days today are usually used as an intent to ask forgiveness and to ask for permission from Mother Nature. We ask for stability of women and people from a psychological and thought perspective. We're going to use 9I and we definitely are going to be in tune to our spirituality and open our soul so that the wind can clean and rearrange our thoughts and our ideas, because today that's what you're going to start doing, to weave, to share your research proposals that have to do with a proposal built and thoughts built by you and your peoples and your organizations, movements and fights. So to create an intent for 9E
Un día
in,
también de reacomodo,
in a day that is of feminine energy and power, it's a rearrangement of thoughts and ideas, to be able to be open to look and listen to what up to this day we haven't been able to integrate. Sometime in our processes of research, we can't be faithful to everything that the people tell us. And so today we're going to ask the grandmothers and the grandfathers to help us, and we're going to do a small prayer to perforate the space with this explanation of today, which is 9E, 9I, sorry. We are going to ask you to close your eyes, each one of you. You can inhale and exhale, thinking that this is the energy of today, the energy of good, that will purify everything that's inside, and exhale it as well. In the cleanliness of what we are, of who we are, I'm going to inhale and exhale, and we're going to give permission to our lives and our ancestors to enter our body in their power and in their knowledge and in their wisdom, to continue helping us build knowledge up to this day, that we can continue having the weaving of our experiences and the experiences of our grandmothers and our grandfathers, but also those of the generations to come. We ask that we are cleansed, that our thoughts are cleansed, our ideas are cleansed, our preconceptions are eliminated, and have our bodies be clean, so that this work and this learning that we are acquiring today can be something amazing, can be impeccable, so that our research and our proposals are collective and have it be clear, abundant, and have it flourish, and that it allows from the understanding that we can provide in our research process, that it allows us to be retributed, and it allows for each person who is participating to permeate their soul and permeate the life and the communities where this knowledge comes from, and that it creates an impact in ourselves and the people with us as well. We ask that nature helps us, and just like bees pollinate and fly with the purpose of creating life, that we may also be bees, and we can become teachers, and we can pollinize from these exercises. We can feed and bring life to the exercises and the research projects of our sisters. And that my word and my proposal from my people can also be a part of my work. I ask for my grandmothers and my grandfathers to give us strength, truth, clarity, sense for our research project, so that we can reach our goals and have it be congruent to our nations. Thank you so much for receiving this petition, and that each of our knowledge and each of our wisdom and our practice, our medicine, ours and of our people, will allow us to shine through, and that we have the ability to showcase the organization of our peoples and our search, and in our search for understanding, we can bring our hearts in and into the service that we're providing to our community for a better understanding of reality. Thank you very much for receiving us and receiving our prayer intended or created on the day of building knowledge. Thank you so much. And we thank the heart of the air, the heart of the water, the heart of the earth, the heart of the water, the heart of the air. Thank you. We thank Alika for your energy accompaniment from where you are. And we hope that it comes from an energy of light, the energy of Alika. Thank you, Alika. If you can stay with us for a little longer, so that we have another point that is part of what we want to share in this seminar, which is motivation words for the participants about the role of the Indigenous researcher and the importance of intercultural research from Indigenous women from Asia, Africa, and Abya. So for that, we have Chobar Kincaid, which is also from the previous court of the intercultural certification. She's going to share her experience with us briefly, what it has been to her, and hence provide some motivation. And she will share a video, and then, if possible, have Anika with us so that she can also share some words, especially what the experience means of being an Indigenous researcher in the territory and with the communities. I'm from the Feeling Thinking of Women. Welcome, Shobha.
Good morning. My name is Shobha. Here it is evening. It's sun is downing and it's 7 p.m. in the evening. So good evening to all who are experiencing evening, and morning to the people who are experiencing the sunrise. So this is very important aspect of Mother Nature, that at a time we all are blessed to connect on a single point to build knowledge on intercultural practices or intercultural basis of research methodology. So I am from India and hail from Chhattisgarh, which is the central part of India, and was in the batch of 2022, and had done the research on Indigenous women traditional healers from Chhattisgarh. So I had traveled all through Chhattisgarh, a small town, Jashpur, wherein I got to meet traditional healers who are going to be extinct because of many reasons. Migration is one. Because of the lack of resources at remotely at village level, community people are indigenous community people are getting migrated to the major cities, and this is how it encouraged me to explore that area, because I belong to that area. and that region, and I belong to a Rao tribe. So through FIMI, I got the privilege to have access, going back and connected with the land. Was a great experience. When you talk about the objective of my case study, it was to uh, restoration of indigenous traditional knowledge practices following the indigenous knowledge systems. So that was the general objective. And following that, I had like uh, specific uh, objective was to document and assess the traditional healing practices, because in Jashpur what happens is the knowledge has been transferred from word of mouth, and especially the traditional healers who don't transfer the knowledge to the upcoming generation, believing that the spirit will be decreased, the spirit or the power to heal people would be decreased. So they don't share the knowledge with anybody. And when they die, it dies with them. So it was that was the gap which led me to understand that how important it is to document. And I had made a presentation, but to save the time, I'm not running that, but have the movie through which I think things will be really clear to understand how it looks like. So I'll not be speaking much on it, but it was a great experience. And I did a lot of work following that project. I developed a case study, developed a movie, and on the basis of that movie, like wherever I'm working on advocacy, wherein, I'm going to the community people and presenting that movie. And based on that, we had furthermore in continuation developed a music track also following the local song of liberation, Gaon Chod Ab Nahi, which is in the local language here in India, Chhattisgarh. So that was collaborating with the college friends we did during COVID time. And that is another part. And this is meeting me to go, talk about and form women groups to work collaboratively. We are just looking forward to have authorization from the state level or the governance part, so that we can officially form a group, legalize a group to work together as a traditional healer practitioner. So with this note, like a lot of work has been going on, and it's in continuation. And just we'll go through the movie and just understand, and feel it, like how it was my experience looked like. So Nadia, I mean, are you playing the movie, or should I have to share it?
A los chicos, Otis o Javier lograron descargar.
Otis or Javier, were you able to download it?
Ya está listo.
Can you try projecting yourself?
Let me try.
There are about 645 distinct tribal groups in India. Most of these groups are concentrated in this specific landmass called the Chota Nagpur Plateau. The study takes us to the edge of the plateau. District Jashpur lies in the state of Chhattisgarh. This little village is my hometown. 70% of the people living in Jashpur are Adivasis. As it is known, the life of indigenous peoples is intertwined with nature. Indigenous communities all around the world are known for self-sustenance. Every person in the community contributes to the overall well-being of people. One such section of the people are Vedhas, the traditional healers.
बच्चे लोगों को ज्यादा छोटे रहते हैं तो सुअर तेल करते हैं, सुअर का चर्बी। हाँ, वो कैसे निकालते हैं सुअर का तेल? वैसे ही काटते हैं तो निकलाते हैं तो उसको जो चर्बी में से जो हाँ चर्बी में उसको वो बता दो एक तिंगा इकासे कम ना रा देना आदि निकासे मा कम और अन्य में उयोर का तंगा ती मानो आदि नहीं तिंगा हो बेक साजनाद काम माना नहीं मैं हाँ बेक मां सजदाम अन्य में अन्य रही।
The traditional healers amidst Oraon community are knowledgeable elders who are skilled with the craft of traditional medicines and healing techniques. With the onset of colonization, modern medicines and science, the only existing healers can be found in the most interior lands. Our quest to find healers, that to women, is an even greater challenge. But why are women healers less in numbers? The community share the work equally, and therefore this disparity is unsettling. Anna Lakra, one of the surviving women healers, making a potion for a patient who is suffering from menstruation cramps.
Basikas katas, ha embasau. Inem bay duma katas, inem jiri butik le embas indra khitna na indra balalias, na indra ghuas gantha Leki embas ke thar mesim hani igunan chichi katas embas mur doi kam alias. Ke embas khatam manjas khane, khatam manjas khan bar ikla khatam sola जोड़ा भर पेरमा बच्चा में से गानु किया तो गामीन जकम खाने जोड़ा भर पेरमा बच्चा बस.
As Anna finds the right mix of herbs to treat her patients, we realize how important it is for healers that the forest is alive and breathing. It convincingly leads to conservation of forest and also its biodiversity. We also met Suvidya, who had been carrying the art form and treating her community fellows independently.
कोई नहीं लगान मैं
हाँ तो कैसे करते हो?
झारोन में मंत्रा से
अच्छा
मंत्रा से झारोन में दवाई नहीं जाना.
What makes this healer unique is her ability to treat certain ailments by methods of invocation. She is very confident and is eager to pass on the skills to her daughter.
वो भूल ही गेलो डीडा पूरी आकर करत करत अब 60-70 साल हुई गेल हमार मनक त.
Mamta Kujur is a member of the same community. She had been working with them for more than 20 years.
सरकार का क्योंकि बिना सरकार के संरक्षण के ये जो ज्ञान है उसको हम लोग नहीं बचा पाएंगे क्योंकि वो भी ज़रूरी है सरकार का सहयोग. अगर हम लोग जड़ी बूटी का ज्ञान को बचाना चाहें तो वन विभाग के पास है पर वन विभाग कितना कर पाएगा ना, उसका तो अपना ही कई तरह के कार्यक्रम होते हैं. तो कुछ अलग तरह का विभाग होना चाहिए जो जड़ी बूटी को परंपरागत तरीके का जो ज्ञान है उसको संरक्षण संवर्धन के लिए. तो सरकार को भी चाहिए कि ये जो ज्ञान है उसको और बचा के रखने के लिए कुछ यानी कि स्ट्रॉन्ग स्ट्रक्चर बना के इसको क्योंकि ये जो ज्ञान है वो हर कहीं नहीं मिलता है. ये सिर्फ अधिकतर जो जंगल में निवास करने वाले लोग जो भी हो, वनवासी हो या आदिवासी हो, उनके पास ये ज्ञान है. पर इस ज्ञान को एक तो मैं बोली ना, पहले हमें अपने समाज को भी क्या बोलते सम्मान करने की आवश्यकता है, फिर दूसरे समाज के लोगों को भी हमारे ज्ञान को सम्मान देने की आवश्यकता है, फिर तीसरा सरकार को भी ये जो ज्ञान है इसके लिए नीति, नियम, कार्यक्रम है ना, बजट वगैरह बनाने की आवश्यकता है। तभी हम लोग इतना जो आदिवासी समाज या वन में निवास करने वाले वन निवासियों का ये ज्ञान बच सकता है।
For now, all of these women healers work independently in their own factions. While the traditional art of healing is the basis of modern medical sciences, it is disheartening to see the decline of traditional knowledge of healing.
इनका हम लोग का देखिए, हम लोग का यहाँ पे जंगल है और जड़ी बूटी से भरपूर है, हम लोग को उसको भी बचाना है। और जो भी अभी हम लोग का ये मैं बोल रही हूँ जो बीमारी है वो पूरा ऑटोमेटिक हमारे आसपास में ही है, तो उसका सही उपयोग अगर नहीं हो पा रहा है। और जो वैद्य लोग हैं वो जैसे कि अभी जो पुरुष वैद्य या महिला वैद्य लोग हैं उनको हम लोग बढ़ावा दें, और जो भी हमारे पास जड़ी बूटी मिलता है उसको हम लोग अच्छे से संग्रहित करके रखें। और हम लोग को महिला वैद्य लोगों को भी, जैसे कि कुछ जगह में हैं हमारी महिला वैद्य, तो उनको हम लोग बढ़ावा देके उनके साथ में फिर से और हम लोग एक दूसरी महिला को भी ट्रेन करने की ज़रूरत है हम लोग को, ताकि जो हमारा जो पहले पुरखा से जो इलाज हो रहा था, जड़ी बूटी से ही पूरा हमारा इलाज होता था, वो हो पाएगा और वो हमारा जो पैसा खर्चा नहीं होगा। ऑलरेडी हमारे पास में जो जंगल में जड़ी बूटी से भरपूर अभी है हमारे पास में।
We observed that an association of women healers can equip them with strength and motivation. In India, access to basic healthcare is far away for many communities. Recognition and assistance can lead them to be the frontline members who can contribute to preserve and strengthen indigenous traditional practices, a favor to sustainable environmental management and leadership development in combating climate change and biodiversity loss.
Gracias, Shoba, por compartir. Y pues
Thank you,
dejamos
Shoba, for sharing, and we give you a few more minutes so that you can share what was the key for the community, so that in the community they would open their hearts and they would share with you all this knowledge, all this cosmo knowledge, all this wisdom, and that you could record this and get to the heart of the community and the territory. What was the key that could be an advice for the current students of the certification so that they can also reach and recover all that wisdom that, as you said, is still alive, even though has a challenge or the risk of disappearing? I think what your research has allowed is to recover and promote, especially that you followed up, meaning that the research doesn't end when you present our study or the movie, but also there's a continuous process based on your efforts. So here's my question: what was the key for you to reach the heart of the community and the healers so that they could share with you in all frankness all their knowledge? What was the key for that?
Well, first thing, I got connected with Mamta Kujur, who is already a social worker working on that ground level. So she acted as a gatekeeper because they, like what to say, pre-work they had done in identifying women healers. And I was lucky enough to meet diversified healers. There were healers who were into oil and massage, and there were healers who were into herbal medicines, and there was a healer, the lady who was in blue sari, was used to heal on mantras. So so like that was an invocation. Like she believed in spirits, and with the spiritual, you know, what to say, chant of what to say, um she used to chant this invocations, and then she used to heal, and that was it. And the key is to you know, we have to just observe and just listen to them, and you get to know. And observation is not only the verbal part, but you know, around the whole surrounding and the environment gives you message, and it is a way of communication, and everything speaks, and that we have to that is our takeaway, and you know, the capacity to absorb. So I feel that I was patient enough. That time I was really not keeping well. I just got over with 2 surgeries, major surgeries, and I was not in a state to physically walk or physically be on the field. But still, I was patient enough and supported by my brother and my friends, you know, from back, to take me up to that level, and just be patiently listening and observing. And it was not only that. At night I used to you know, feel that fireflies all around in the jungle. So these were the motivation, the nature, the to establish the connection with the nature and the people who are our brothers and sisters, and whatever I had learned from them, and the ability to give them back uh, in my way, was the motivation. And just listen, I just kept on listening to them, just just followed them up, and you know, this came up. So I feel, I mean, the communication is not only verbal or written. Although I want to document it, that was my objectivity. I absorbed and I documented that. I documented both the ways, I mean, on a written mode and on a video mode. So that was it. But primarily we have to be patient, we have to listen verbally, non-verbally, and the sense of observation, and the capacity to explore the nature is the takeaway.
Gracias, Shoba, por su
Thank you,
compartir.
Shoba, for sharing, for your experience. If not, I give the floor to Nadia. Is there anything else, Shoba? Thank you, Lore. Thank you, Shoba and Alika, who had to leave because she's in the middle of an event. We are so thankful that you were able to connect to this new group and share your experiences, and how was the process to do your case studies. Shoba, thank you for sharing these basic fundamental principles of how to get close to the community, to the people, to the women, so that they can open up their life and their heart and share their knowledge. And that's the heart of the feeling. Like Lore was saying, I'm so glad to hear that the work didn't just stay there, that it continues, and that you continue working on your research project, because that's the point of this process, to create information to transform realities. And when the work is continuous, that is what we're trying to do, transform a reality. So thank you so much, Shoba, again, and we are still in communication.
Thank you so much, and I'm privileged, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
Gracias, Shoba. Igual sabemos el horario,
Thank
pero
you, Shoba. I know the schedule, but if you can stay. Oh, okay. You leave, but we're thankful for your contributions, and we're going to continue. We are going to start with the third part of today, which corresponds, or which is the presentation of the research projects. And for that, I would like to indicate that we have 10 minutes to present and to share a proposal with all the happiness, the calmness, and the harmony. I think it's a we have the first presentation for one of the participants. And when she stops, the procedure is that if Angela, Nadia, and I have something to contribute or a question, we can say it, or one of the students can also do that as well. And then we continue. And after that, we're going to finish with any questions if it was necessary to close the event. The idea is that this presentation is enriching. It is a collective knowledge, and that we can bring our knowledge into our sisters' work as well. So Angela, Nadia, and I are going to comment, and then at the end of the 4 presentations, then the rest of our sisters can ask questions to the other participants. The order to present is Jenny first. We welcome her. Is your presentation ready, Jenny, or should we project it for you? We have 10 minutes. So once the 10 minutes are up, we're going to give you a signal, and we're going to let you know before your time is up. We'll let you know we have 2 minutes. So welcome, Yenilin, to the floor.
Días, ¿allí me escucha?
Good morning. Yes, we can listen to you. Yes. And we can see your screen. Can you get full screen, please? Welcome. We are ready to listen to you.
Es en el último recuadro, acá, el otro. Ahí, ahí.
Here to left. There you go.
¿Ahí ven la pantalla completa? Sí.
We have full screen. Alrighty.
Okay, bueno. Bueno, muy buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone.
Y todas. El título que tienen, pues, mi
The title that my case has is Weaving the Knowledge, Essential Knowledge and Practice, Environmental Practices of the YU Women for the Protection of Mother Earth and Economy for Life. I'm Jenilyn Lugo, my name. What am I considering from this research? Why do I consider that this is an important topic, and for who it is? This is a topic that is important, especially for the YU Indigenous women, specifically because I pretend to do the rescuing of their knowledge, the ancestral knowledge, and the practices they have, because the women of that area do to protect Mother Earth in that area, and for keep protecting our territory, but also to contribute to the economy of our country, of our community. And it's also be important for the community itself, the YU people, and the territory in the Department of Guajira, and to rescue all of these practices. Protection, environmental protection will also help us to contribute to the protection of all the ecosystems that are sacred for us and that are also a part important in our system. And also it will be important because not only for the community, but the surroundings of the society, contributing to the care and protection of our ecosystem and the territory. My research question is, what are the cosmologies, ancestral cosmologies of the YU women for the safekeeping and protection of Mother Earth, the body, territory, and economy for life upon the impact of depredation and environmental contamination? And I have the following questions to follow up with that, which implies what does it mean to have the YU women, the protection and the safekeeping of Mother Earth, the territory, body, and the economy for life? The second question is, what have been the impact of depredation and environmental contamination in Mother Earth and the economy for life? The third is, what are the measures of resilience, resistance, and adaptation of the YU women done for the safekeeping of the Mother Earth, and the economy for life, based on the impact of the environmental depredation? And the last one is, what are strategies and mechanisms the YU women are planting to strengthen the care for the systems of Mother Earth and economy for life? My general objective is to identify the ancestral cosmos knowledge of the Wayuu women for the safekeeping and protection of Mother Earth, territory, body, and economy for life upon the impact of our environmental depredation and contamination. The first specific objective is to know the meaning and practices of the ancestral or human women for the protection and safekeeping of Mother Earth, their body Earth, and the economy for life. I want to identify the impact of the environmental contamination and depredation that have impacted Mother Earth, Earth body, and economy of life of the Wayuu women. I want to contribute to the recovery and stabilization of the capacity of resilience, resistance, and adaptation of the Wayuu women for the safekeeping of their body Earth, Mother Earth, and the economy for life based on the environmental impact, and establish strategies and mechanisms to strengthen the systems for the Wayuu women in the care of the economy. All of these concepts we're going to be talking about identify for the topic of research is what does it mean to be a Wayuu woman? What is the ancestral cosmos knowledge? What is Mother Earth? What is territory body? The ancestral cosmos knowledge for the protection of Mother Earth, economy for life, the concept for economy for life, and the concept for economy for life of the Wayuu women, protection and safekeeping, of Mother Earth. What do we talk about when we talk about depredation? What is contamination? What pollution? Environmental contamination. I established 4 chapters. I call it Earth, Mother Earth. Here, the first chapter, the subtitles are called here, identify all the role that the Wayuu women have in terms of the protection of Mother Earth and how it's been the evolution of the practices that they have been carrying out to do the safekeeping in the body Earth, Mother Earth, the body. The whole introduction into the question of the context of those cosmos knowledge that we want to preserve for this protection. The second chapter is to the imbalances of Mother Earth, Earth body, and the Wayuu women for the economy for life. And here, in the second chapter, I want to highlight the information for those impacts of all of these damages that have happened in facing Mother Earth in the territory with all this contamination that had happened from the ecosystem, in our rivers, and the health of the Wayuu women. I call the resilience of the Wayuu women for the body. And here we're gonna be talking about how do we resist, how do we do all of these imbalances that are happening in Mother Earth and our territories, and how that has impacted the economy of life of the people. And the last chapter, it says the path for the feeling thinking of women, of the Wayuu women, for the safekeeping and defense of Mother Earth, body land, and economy for life. Here we'll talk about the strategies that we are going to implement currently. How can we use all of those knowledges? How we're going to use all those practices that our grandmothers used to keep creating that knowledge and protecting our environment, our territory, Mother Earth, and to also contribute to the economy for life. The people who are the heart of this research, they're the grandmothers. As you can see, the image of this is my grandmother Elena. She's the mother of my mother. So these are my elder grandmother, grandparents who are going to be they're going to be the heart and the reason of being of this research. But also we have the participation of the leaders and from 2 communities. and I'll have people accompanying me who are going to be a part of the team to carry out the research. And the research is going to happen in Colombia, in the Department of La Guajira, which is at the north side of Colombia. As you can see in the map right here, especially in two communities. One is in the Alto Guajira, which is the Guayparileng, and the other one is called the community of Tequia, which is the research investigation is going to be, it's going to, the time period that we're going to use is the period between 1950 and 1970, which is a recovery of the historical memory. The part that I want to create, the interviews, the exchange of knowledges, how the elder in that area who are 70, 80 years old have, what information they can provide from their experiences, their life experiences, the history of how it was, how this practice were done in the past, and protect Mother Earth, where we have all this depredation of plastic, of all those residuals they have in the territory. And this is from 1980 to 2000, talking about the evolution in the economy, of income of the plastics, and how that created an impact in the economy of the Wayu women, and also the health of their bodies. And then also see currently in the period from 2000 to 2004, the environmental impact. What that damage has done to the Wayu women. What practices that we have been carried out for this resilience. So that's why the three periods I want to cover during this evolution and the information that we have. What we want to share here. The methodology that we're going to talk about is intercultural and research methodology, where we have mainly the exchange of knowledge with the elder women, grandparents, but also it's going to be intergenerational, specifically speaking with the technique and methodologies that we're going to be using are circle of words, like we talk about in the first image, the tunca, which is it's a practice that we do where we release the activities that we normally do, and it's a practice that gathers, and we all sit together in the same place, and in the morning we get early to talk about to storytell, and there is a way of exchange knowledges, and also the practice of Ashawamba, which is the building of words, and we talk about use elements like our plant-based drinks, or chirinche, which is our alcoholic beverages, and tobacco. And also we'll do interviews. Here you can see the image here. We have the children who are doing corn, because when the women are doing their activities, they're going to be participating in something else. So that the interviews are not interrupted. And here are the stages or process, or the moments of the research process.
De armonización para poder equilibrar también nuestras energías, de que sea una forma de que pueda ser fructífera todo el proceso que se va a llevar a cabo. Entonces, una armonización de apertura. Seguidamente se hará pues, la validación del diseño metodológico con la comunidad, a quienes se le pues, se solicita.
They're going to be doing the participation they're going to be validating if this is okay, if this is done with them, or if they recommend to do it somewhere else. And based on their knowledge and based on their input, the team that's going to be here, accompanying the process and committed with the process, they're going to be doing the responsibilities that we have on each of the women who we have in the team, as well as the weaving of knowledge, and that's going to be part of the exit of the exchange, of the gathering of that information, which is going to be the part of doing the interviews, and then going to be the collective production, and all the information
en el estudio de caso,
that we can
escribirlo,
exchange
seguidamente la socialización y
in the study case,
de conocimiento,
and then the socialization of this knowledge, which I will be doing with intergenerationally, where we're going to be talking to the grandparents and grandparents, and we validate their knowledge. And then with the youth as well, we're going to do something else based on something else, and then validate this exchange of the knowledge that they have. And then finally, we'll do the webinar knowledge and the cleaning of the process. Because once we have all this information that is important for this research phase, once we have done also the totalization and validation, I pretend to see what are the next steps in the state of the research. How are we going to be as women seeing how we put all this practice and in towards the future, how we can contribute to improve this and strengthen all of this knowledge and also the economy of life for the people. Here's the general timeline that we have established for the stage already set up. And so each one of them has this, that the opening, we have to get closer to talk with the permission, and we can get that first contact and approach with the people in the community. Then we have the harmonization, and then we're going to talk about for weeks, followed by the presentation of the methodology, which will be done in the validation of the research process. The definition. Then we'll do the information and the responsibilities that we have. And then we'll do the exchange of knowledges. And here we'll talk about the meetings with the grandparents and then we'll do the collective production of the information and then the validation of the document. And then we'll do the circle of words. And then with the the different activities that we'll do with the kids as well. And then we'll just clean the whole thing up and close the whole process. And then Anaja will do it, which is thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. We'll leave now the space for Nadia and the rest of the team to add any comments that they may have. Thank you, Jenny Lee, for your presentation. It was a great presentation. Thank you on the progress that you're doing. Thank you, Lore, for the accompaniment. And I don't actually have good comments to make this. I was just worried about the timeline. But I feel that you've done a great job establishing, taking into account this process, the time, because it is a lot of work. It's valuable what you're stating, but I'm still worried about time. Then I listened to you about, we talk about body, earth, and economy. Body, territory, and economy, but there, how do you see, how are you going to include those elements in the territory? How it's going to link that up, that analysis? I don't know if I'm going ahead here, thinking ahead of here, but you're probably going to have something else added there when you do the socialization and getting closer with the concepts, all of that. But I feel that the resilience part from the women, that's another big topic there. So what dimensions can you apply when you talk about resilience in the territory? Are you going to approach it through politics or social, cultural? You talk about economy, but the other dimensions are not if you're going to discuss them at some point. So thinking about that, perhaps you might think about having a more land it more in terms of how a little closer in time. The plan for the future, I think it's very important that you have it stated there. And I feel that that's something that's going to be allowed you to put with the next module that we'll have in terms of how the action plan, the strategic planning based on the research. Those are my comments right now for the moment. Thank you, Loren. Thank you, Nadia. Jenny, thank you. Just to answer more or less what you're asking, I think that I linked many concepts at the same time, and because the body earth, very territory is right with our economy. And like I was telling teacher Lorena a bit about this, that the dimensions that are going to be the environmental part and how this affect our economy, because the communities here did not know the residuals, the plastic of the bag, and all the purchases that we made, and what we do for the gathering of all these products that we usually have for women. They were done through big bags that they made themselves, whether it was plastic or their own cloths that they had. So there was no residue. So they would have trash, but we had like their own so we could see how all these practices contribute to that protection of Mother Earth, but also in the body territory, because we need to protect Mother Earth, but also we're also protecting our territory body with everything that is offered to us, like the plants, for medicines or for food. And also, if we see that we continue being affected with all this residue that comes into the territory with the plastics and all the trash that we don't know how to get rid of it, then we're going to be affected and create a chain in that sense. We're affecting Mother Earth, but also going to be affecting our nutrition. And we're also going to be affected as well within our health and our economy. Because through this, when we are, the Comunidad Tequila, for example, their main academy is agriculture. So it's been affected in that sense. So I wanted to relate kind of that and see as well what we call the circular economy, but for us, it's basically economy for life, which is not a new concept. It's already happening from many times before, and see how this practice we can use it in currently. And let's say we want to solve some changes that we have present. Thank you. And generally, Angela, if you have something to make a comment on. Good morning, everyone. Let's see if some things that I put it down here. See, here we go. First of all, Jenny, I wanna congratulate you for all this work that you've done. Very, very rigorous that you've done, and the way that I admire Morena for the way she accompanied you. I would have various comments and some questions regarding this. The first one, like Nadia was saying, I said, well, it's like I don't want to be a party pooper, like we're saying here in Colombia. Want to be a party pooper, but definitely, you have a big agenda, research agenda for many years here, which is wonderful, obviously, because I feel that in the last session we spoke about this. We saw your passion in each word, in each question you made, the creativity that you have, the richness of your knowledge as well. So I feel this is wonderful. But the invitation here through the years that I've done here and experience, and there's another here say that you know a lot. The saying that says, how in many occasions, how can me myself to stop myself? I'm the one who wants to make a big agenda by my own that are very hard to accomplish. So here's the nice part of this process is that nobody's making you. You're the one who are establishing, you're building the agenda here. And I don't want to spoil, to make you stop. You have the other capacity, you can do this. Nonetheless, I want to release, review a bit more. You have 4 months. These are my responsibilities. And analyze very peacefully. I don't know if this is just with my character, but perhaps I want to do many more things from what I'm being asked. And sometimes well, I finish tired and exhausted because I can't go more in depth with what's happening. So I will say that feedback with a lot of love and a lot of respect, so that you can analyze if this is something that you want to, if this is all you're gonna do. It's wonderful. Please receive this with admiration that I have for the exercise that you did. But I also want to say, how can we take care of as researchers? How can we do an exercise of self-care and of the people that we're working with? And here the temporalities here, obviously, when we talk about 1950, 1980, something like that. That was the 90s. So you are making yourself work a lot. That's like 40 years. 40 years of history of the people. So I would say, maybe too much. Perhaps I'm thinking, if I understand it correctly, to propose to revisit those cycles of life. So I think it's different when you talk about this methodologies and some interviews. So what were they living in that time? So you say the temporalities from 1950 to currently, there's like a lot of things that you're like going way too much in terms of the time that you want to explore. So perhaps it's just the advice that I have. And also, here's a concept that I have. That one of the theorists that we have, an activist, my activist, who are very hard working here in Colombia, and connect them with Cachuba women from the Caribbean side of Colombia. And something interesting happened there because Lorena was talking about a perspective of the Maya people, and they were talking about it's beautiful, it's wonderful, the perspective of the body territory, but we have a different concept for this. So we had a dialogue in that sense that you can imagine. No, it's just for ourselves. The concept is this. So so we had that discussion there, and I was thinking, how do we notice in the languages in Wayunaiki? What are the concepts, the proper concepts of the elders? And how can we dialogue those concepts, which are one of the cultures and one of the strongest sounds in this country? So it would be nice and important that you could, in the first place, the concept that they have, that you do in the methodology. In Wayunaiki, this means the following. So conceptually, how do you name it? And how do you dialogue that conception of the body of that proper part of the territory with the mind body that we've had been very important in Colombia to be able to make questions to the grandmothers. And I feel that's very important that of the Wayu women. And the project is very important, very nice. It's fantastic. And I'm very admired of the of the of the questions that you made, the construction of the methodologies that you have here. And I would say you have an agenda here. You have so many things to do in these 4 months. So you can start doing going more in depth. So that'll be my emotion, right? Exactly. I'm excited about your job. So thank you very much. You are right. You have a big agenda there. It's a long-term agenda. And you get so excited many times and you want to do so many things at the same time. And I feel that it could be to complete the agenda that is here in all the term. But thank you very much for your comment. And we're gonna do now Nukila will raise her hand, and then the presentation for Samay.
Thank you, Lorena.
And this is a commitment that we have to accompany Jenny Lynn in this 4 months that she has so that she can, and for the learning and this part. So
Thank you, Lauren. Congratulations for Yenny Lin for the presentation. I think this is very good jobs because you will tackle a great task to conduct this research. My questions, I think it will be related to maybe you can share because you mentioned about, correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned about you will conduct like an interview as well as the dialogue. So for the interview, who will be your target people, whom you will be address this interview? And I just want to know about because you mentioned about the interview. And also, I'm wondering, are you going to involve the children in this research? Because what will be your strategy to go if yes? Because I saw the picture from your presentation and I missed some words from you. If you involve the children in this research, how will you? Maybe you can share with us. How will you approach later for the children? And how you approach the children in this regard. Thank you.
Hola, Nukila, muchas gracias. Bueno,
thank you, Nukila. The people who are going to be providing the information in this exchange, I have identified 4 grandmothers. They are the ones who we're going to put in the time that's going to see. They're the ones who are going to be doing the interviews. Personal interviews, just with them, myself and them. And then the second phase that I want to carry out is this dialogue, an exchange where we have the participation of the whole community, of the mothers that are there, the elders that are there, and I obviously want the elders, the moms to be there, and the children as well. It's basically their participation is for the intergenerational dialogue, but their role is more of allow them to receive that knowledge, for them to see, and then just going to give me some input and a space of dialogue to see with them. And I just want a space with them where they can be present, where we have the youth and the adults and the children, so they can receive the knowledge or be aware of the knowledge and try to promote that for girls and because they're very far of this knowledge because of their education, because their parents are not in the territory. So they're very separate from all this knowledge. So it's more of a pace for them to get a bit of the knowledge of the practices. So it's kind of an approach of taking advantage of the space so that they can learn about the knowledge. But the main idea, the heart of this is going to be the grandmothers. I don't know if I answered your question though. Are we good?
Yeah.
Nukila?
What about, yeah, it's good, yeah. What about are you going to involve the children for your research?
Vamos a...
No. No, a los
No,
niños
they
no.
will not be asked. They're not a part of the research. They won't be asked anything. Thank you, Nukila. We're gonna leave Naima. And then there'll be the last participation so that we can go with the next presentation. First time I to share.
Yeah. Thank you, sister, for your wonderful presentation in the project. But I have one curiosity. How we are going to implement intercultural methodology in your research?
Could you please repeat it again? You're gonna cut off. Is your question what is the intercultural research you're gonna be using?
Okay. Bueno, la metodología.
I have a curiosity about research.
Okay, la metodología intercultural.
The intercultural methodology that I'll use are gonna be the spaces for that exchange of knowledges that we'll have, but intergenerationally with the adults, youth, and children. That's the one they're going to be managing. In terms of other methodologies, it's going to be the interview that I mentioned at the beginning. While they'll be doing their activities, I'll be able to ask questions and talk with them and exchange what they have. And take advantage of this knowledge. That is just asking, not asking them, but just more or less.
Muy bien. Gracias a Nukila y a Naina.
Thank you, Nukila. Thank you for your questions. We're going to continue now with the thank you, Yanili. I think that was the objective of this process. So we can feedback that for Angela, Nadia, and the other participants as well. This is key, and this is the importance of this type of dialogue analysis that we're doing here. And we think that they stop presenting the screen. Please release the screen so that Jeneline can go ahead and we'll take the following presentation. And we welcome now Samai, who's going to present her also as well. Here we're going to now welcome her as well. She's going to present her proposal.
Sí, porque sigue en la pantalla, pero no sé si alguien...
Ajá, a mí me aparece. Ya, listo.
Perfecto.
Gracias.
Bienvenida, Samay. Gracias.
Welcome, Samai. Thank you. Thank you, sisters. Good day to all. I'm going to share with you my presentation. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to put it in presentation mode. There you go. Throughout the presentation, you're going to see some figures that I feel very attached to them. I feel like they tell us a lot about ways of feeling and thinking as peoples and Quechua nationalities and the nationalities. And in particular, this belt is interesting because there's a woman there. And my research topic is to talk about FIMI as our own mechanism that Quechua women have. I'm going to center in adult Quechua women before sexual violence, in my community in Ecuador. I have tried to be each day more specific because we have 4 months for this research, and I want my center to be the women, the adult women. Why is this topic important and who is it for? Well, it's for the Quechua women because I feel like it's important that we can name what's happening to us, the yaqui, which we call this problem, and that it can serve as an instrument of incidence for all the network of women that are fighting for our rights, and that it can serve in general for all women. Why is it important? Well, I have a lot of reasons that are in the justification. A lot of them is to visibilize the violence that my community is living, speak about sexual violence against adult women because it's a secret and it doesn't happen very often. It's not talked about very often, especially within our Indigenous communities. I also want to reflect and make a criticism to our ways of living as Indigenous communities, because a lot of the times being essential, it leaves things in the speech and not in the practice. A practice that we have is the alicaus. So where is this alicausa getting to versus the numbers of violence that exist against women in my community? And not just mine, but also communities in general. Then I also want to characterize a second moment. I would like to revalue this knowledge in this search for justice. And I also would like to apologize because what I meant was the knowledge of life, because I think that there's a lot we have to teach from our life experiences. So what is my specific objective is, what is the proposed, what does FIMI propose from the perspective of violence against women specifically? And I have other questions that are according to the chapters. I have 2, what is the impact of gender violence in the territory and body of older Quechua women, to revise the impact, and what are the mechanisms that adult women have to face gender violence? And in there, I want to continue knowing more and generating more subtopics. What is FIMI for us as Quechua women? What does it mean to safeguard the FIMI against sexual violence or gender violence? And what are the mechanisms, and what is the way that we can defend adult women? So my general objective is to identify what FIMI proposes as a mechanism to face gender violence against older Quechua women in the community, and with an emphasis to adult women and sexual violence. I also want to identify the impacts of sexual violence in the body territory of Quechua older women. I want to visualize the FIMI as our own mechanisms of an adult older woman before or to face gender violence. Here I have some words that I have added as a concept that are derived from my research, and they're part of my Quechua thinking, and I can't stop thinking in my language. So you're going to see 2 languages, and sometimes only in the Quechua language, and that's what I want to characterize. Runa mais kaikuna, which is this is referring to these Quechua women research. Laiki, which is gender violence, which could be something much more general. It could be the lack of balance that is created before, or that is created as a result of gender violence. The Karishka, which is also a way to refer to sexual violence. Literally, it could be that somebody has touched you. That's what it means. But there are other words as well. So when I speak about sexual violence, I want to decipher what are those words that are also used within the communities to refer to these situations when somebody has suffered sexual violence. Kwaimi is Quechua woman, Paya Mamakuna is an adult woman. Liakita Yaishka Wabikuna, which is I want to exit from that conception of a victim and talk about being survivors, meaning they have their capabilities, they have all the resilience in the world to face the situation, which is what Laikita y Elisha Waikuma. Aini means taking care of. It's a sense of taking care of who you are. Jimanakwi is part of my methodology, which is this dialogue where we have several people and it could be intergenerational, and if games are in the midst of this, and we do an exchange of knowledge where we are all participants. The researcher is not the person who knows more, she's just an apprentice. And she will continue proposing and weaving and facilitating to be able to bring what Laini really is for all of us. Shiminirakum makirurakum is to learn by doing. So while we're dialoguing, we can be cooking, we can be weaving, we can be doing any other things, because it is our knowledge, or it is our wisdom to learn by doing. To me, this chapter is two. We have two chapters. The first one is the impacts of sexual violence in adult, older Quechua women. And I'm going to very slowly get into topic. First, to talk about women, who I'm going to be talking about, and it's going to be biographical. And then center how there is this sexual violence and adult older women. And we can see it as very little, but I feel like the topic itself is very broad and it's very touching emotionally and physically and geographically. So here I'm going to be speaking from that perspective, from that integral perspective, and to narrow down, these are the impacts. Afterwards, in the second chapter, what I'm going to do, well, first in the first chapter, why do we not see gender violence? Well, because I've already done it in other research, and also because I feel like that is just something, another way to add topics, but I want to get directly to sexual violence. Then the second chapter is the Aini as your own mechanism, as a mechanism of adult, older Quechua women to face sexual violence. And here I have sub-chapters. And while we're talking about these mechanisms with the sisters, we could also maybe see that we're going to have other sisters that are going to integrate and generate this dialogue. And here, we can see some mechanisms, other mechanisms, and not just the ones we have on the topic. So I want to be able to give myself some room to discuss and to describe this. What is, and then we're going to have Aini as the meaning of life. And then after that, connect Laini with this voice regarding, or that emphasizes a life free of violence, free of sexual violence. I want to talk about these other mechanisms that are also connected, which is surely going to come up in the dialogue. And afterwards, with all this, I want to also propose this accompaniment at a family level and at a community level, because these are the tools to value and activate Laini. Finally, I want to reflect and conclude based on this topic. Afterwards, among the people that are going to participate, we have the older woman that I mentioned, in whom this case study will be based on, and also adult women through interviews or Rimanakwi, which is this dialogue. And we're going to talk about Laini and how the different ways of violence, gender violence and sexual violence permeates our bodies. Well, how do they participate? Well, the adult woman is the voice of survival and wisdom, and the rest of the women are the ones who have the knowledge on ancestral ways, and they would also be written down. My community is just right there. It's all this territory. It's around a lagoon. Here we can see in the photograph, it's right there. So all this part, that's my community. And so it'll be centered there in this sector. The temporality of this research and the case study, this fact of sexual violence happens in May 2023. Yes, May 2023. And the accompaniment, how has it been from here to now? Well, that's why we're doing it up to this year. The methodology, as I mentioned, I will talk about the principles of Manikausi, like reciprocity, which is another principle of Naini, equality, and some principles that are within the Alikausa and also or Sumakausai. And I will also talk about Rimanauki as a methodology and a technique, which is to learn by doing. The moment of my research, we're going to have this design and planification. With this, I will go to the previous consultation that has been informed, and I will socialize this as well. In case of any situation of addition or anything like that that we could have. Once this has been valued, I will do the consultation in bibliographical sources, which is what Angela was showing us, like Google Scholar and bibliographical sources that could be important and added to the introduction. And finally, our field work, which could be the application of our methodologies through the dialogues. And then afterward, I will do the draft and then the revision, the final revision. The general schedule responds to this process of the research process. And here's by month. I have stated it till July. Correct me if I'm wrong. Design of the plan, we're doing it in March. The previous consultation, informed consultation continues in March. Field work I've done May. And then the work with the actual, the dialogue, the work with actual sisters, so the dialogue starts in June. And the drafting begins in May to July. And then the revision would be the last month. Thank you so much. Thank you, Samai, for sharing your proposal and the work that you have already been doing, and for the commitment and the strength that you've added to your study, which also will provide really valuable personal knowledge, especially from the feeling thinking of the grandmothers, the older women and the sexual violence they face is something that's very seldomly spoken about. So thank you so much. Because of time and procedure, we're going to ask Angela to comment the study on the proposal, the research proposal of Samai. And afterward, we would have the intervention and the questions of the participants as well. And if there's anything specific from Nadia, she can also go ahead and do that. For now, welcome, Angela. No, well, thank you so much. This is getting better each day. I'm so excited, really, from hearing these incredible projects. I have so many ideas that come to mind. First of all, to congratulate you. I feel like dialogue, from what Janine was saying, is very powerful. I see in your work, as Mayora Lorena was saying, something very innovative, very little work that hasn't been worked on. I know that you were doing that exercise and you would see that is practically inexistent, the production of content around this topic. And of course, it has to do with, as you were saying, everything that has to do with the taboo and the stigma around, or the cost, the political cost and emotional cost, individual cost of this topic. And in that sense, I wanted to ask you many things. The first one, I think that here you have a concept that's very powerful with all the concepts that you're bringing from Cosmovision, Quichua Cosmovision. And you place it in dialogue with concepts that are of the studies of violence based on gender, especially sexual violence. I still see from the outside a kind of hierarchy, you know? I feel like it's very present still. The violence based on gender and violence, sexual violence. And how about you do it on the opposite? Not give the external concept so much power. It's important because it's what's going to allow you to dialogue from the outside. And as Mayra Lorena was saying, you feel that in that module, that encouragement. But if you go beyond what you will say, what you were talking about, epistemic violence and epistemic justice that Indigenous women's studies have lived. But what if you don't translate directly? But that when you're talking about Jackie, you take longer to explain and to place in the center the voices of these women that you're going to talk to. I don't know if I'm being clear. The impressive work you have and such a wonderful opportunity that you have to offer a concept from the Quichua Cosmovision and from you as a Quichua woman talking about these topics. That's what I want to, the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing that comes to mind is you talk about the response that this group of women have. So I wonder, are they survivors of these crimes? Are they authorities that are solving these crimes through, maybe I was thinking of a case here in the north of my country where older women are authorities who are proposing working routes against violence. So I think that there I would like to be more clear or have more knowledge on that. And in that case, the question I have is, surely you're going to have a lot of pain. You're going to have a lot of painful memories from them. I'm sure it's going to move you as a researcher, as a woman. So I was imagining how you could also offer spaces anticipating that that's going to happen. Spaces of how you're going to take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of them, how are you going to generate spaces of care amongst you. And also imagine times of closing where you don't ask questions, you just based on the experience of violence, which is what which is what Western right has done, where we don't only exist as a victim of these violence. So how can you empower them and make some questions where you reconnect them with their strength and their resilience and their, so that it's not just them as victims and the painful memory that's for yours, that's theirs. Imagine you have somebody who has that feeling. I know that Major Lorena and women can also give you emphasis on that. And I asked the question to myself too, because I worked with those cases as well. And right now we are accompanying a case where sexual violence is a center because of war violence. And sometimes there are times where we don't know where to go because of so much pain, our own and the pain of the survivors. So from there, I speak to you. And also introduce in the proposal a dimension that says, can you ask how they have found or found some sort of meaning in these experiences, and how they can develop mechanisms that are restorative. Does that make sense? That's kind of the question that I would have. And again, this is very powerful, Samai. What you're doing is very powerful, very valuable. And then what we can provide support as a group, I think we're all willing. So ask for help in this group as well, because these are subjects that are very, very painful. Thank you. Thank you, Angela. We give the floor to Samai. Thank you for your words, Angela. In regards to this first part, yes, I feel like it's kind of leaving the violence of gender and physical, economic, and sexual with that hierarchy and kind of exit from that. And I think that even calling it yucky, that was an exercise that I made in my research, my thesis research, because I said I don't want to center in gender violence, but I do want to introduce what yaki is and what I mean when I say yaki. And that doesn't mean that it's more or less painful than any other kind of sexual violence, but instead, what it allows me to do is to dialogue and propose from our ways of feeling what is a yaki, and that sexual violence is still that yaki, but that somehow it hurts your body first and then your other faces. And because really, for me, it's a way of violence that is integral, it's everything. When you are raped, you don't just get raped, but there's also words, there's physical violence, there's many different ways when there is sexual abuse. So your comment is very important, and I will take it into consideration. In regards to who I'm going to, or who I will do this dialogue, it's Healing Women, 4, and also sisters that have done this practice of Alai. They don't necessarily have to be healers, they're friends that are there, and when something happens, they're already there accompanying a woman. So there's a sense of care that happens, and they're women that I know, that I identify, and I will do this accompaniment with them as well. Now, in terms of painful memories, I remember that it was very useful to me to start with a ritual and do like a presence of the rituals and our integral aspect and our emotions, and start from that part and the strength that each one of us has, and to confide in one of the elements, water, air, earth, and each one of them to identify in different ways. So that I feel can give me more strength at the beginning and at the end as well. What personally helps me is writing and ritual. So I can propose to do that as well in a group way, because it's a knowledge that it's very important that women can do ritual baths in specific days. And I really believe in that, and I feel like it can help. And also, thank you to the group to give me this trust that I can ask for help. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Samai. If there's any questions or comments from Nadia, if not, questions or comments from the participants. Nukila, is your hand up? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lorena. Congratulations to Samai for your presentation. I really like your issues, but I need to have a clearer understanding, because you mentioned only about adult sexual violence. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I also do some research. Yeah, it might be I don't know, because for me adult is not really clear. Yeah. Maybe a vulnerable adult, like with the ranging of the age, for instance, 18 years and up, 18 years old and up, or 25 years old for adult, for instance. So we can make it different with the girls' age. So that's my observation from your presentation. And the second one, regarding a vulnerable adult, I think it's quite interesting, because you have similar subject, yeah, with my research. I also make like a vulnerable adult, like a elderly, mentally frail, for instance, have a disability, that's vulnerable adult, and then have physical disability, and then have a mental health, and then be unable to demonstrate the capacity to make decisions, that's vulnerable adult, and then have undergone a recent trauma, and then be in an abusive relationship. Just some thoughts that maybe that could be also good. Yeah, I'll relate with my research as well. I just want to have, I think it's better to have a clearer understanding about the adult sexual violence with the criteria, for instance, the age, also as well as with the vulnerable position. I think that's only my comment. Thank you, Samai.
Gracias por tu pregunta, Nukila. En la parte de
Thank you for your question, Nukila. In terms of conceptualizing the feeling thinking of Indigenous women that is in that guide, there's within the definitions I have added an older adult woman. And here in Latin America, I believe, and in Spanish, we understand by older adult the person that is from 60 years old and up. So why don't I refer to adult women in general? Because I feel that there's another age range that I have already researched previously, and I've done a research on resilience on adult women. So I felt like this time I needed to do it with adult older women or elderly women, because there's very little research on the elderly abuse women who are suffering abuse. Sorry. So women from 60 years on, or women who are already considered elderly. That's who I'm referring to. Thank you, Samai and Nukila. And I think that thank you for your information. And does anybody else have a comment or anything that you want to add before we present Liz? I just want to ask, or I have a comment for Samai. And maybe when you talk about this self-care topic, maybe it would be important to establish how, from the Indigenous women, we talk about these sensitive ways, sensitive topics that are so delicate, that are not easily discussed. And intercultural research, that's one of the strengths, is that we can conceptualize in our own language, we know the culture, so it facilitates the opening up. So I think to document this self-care when we talk about these issues would be a very, very valuable plus for the case study. And I was wondering if in the process of the study, do you think you will highlight on document these conceptual elements as something, as a differentiation between elder women, older women, and the sort? Just those two questions only. Are you going to differentiate? In the research, is only centered as elderly adult women, or elderly women. But what I will name is adult women, because it's with whom I will also maintain this dialogue with healers are elderly women. So I will do that differentiation of the dialogue with women of a certain age, and how we can establish the way to do this research, so that because we have to remember that the dialogue guide will also happen based on what happens. We're going to have very broad questions, and then we're going to start kind of recognizing these ways of resilience. And so I can definitely see in what range we have adult women and older adult women, so that we can have this clarity. And of course, in these ways of self-care and how to document them, I feel like this could go in the way of accompaniment. So it's a lot more experimental. Where I have learned a lot. For example, I am accompanying this mom from women, and I've learned a lot from her. And I see what this collective learning is, and I know that each one that are going to be providing in this Yamanakwi are going to will be very enriching to know what these proposals are from the experience of each one of them. So thank you.
Gracias, Nadia y Ángela. Me disculpo por el ruido, espero que lo podamos, que se minore por una construcción que están haciendo cerca de donde vivo.
I'm sorry for the noise. There's a construction in the back. But I want to thank Samai. I think the strength that you were commenting on with the sisters of Abdayala is that if the research factors in or eliminates that way of feeling things, I think we have to talk about beyond the victim. We'll talk about the survivors. So that is the strength that your presentation wants to present. And we are also talking about how to recover the important part of our own epistemologies. And that's why we have that chapter there, where we establish the main variables of our research paper, not just to criticize, but what others have written, but what we have to say is, how do we create cosmo knowledge from our knowledge and our cosmovision as originary peoples, and from this feeling, thinking, and voice of women. So that's the spirit, and thank you so much, Samai. We will continue doing the collective revision and this learning process. We give Liz the floor. She will present now. Welcome, Liz.
Welcome, Liz. Thank you, teacher. Good morning, everyone. Good night, good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to present to you
Sí se logra ver.
Can you see the screen? Yeah, just full screen, please. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Buenos días a todas y todas hermanas.
Good morning, everyone.
Bien, mi tema
My topic is the recovery of the ancestral systems in terms of care and restoration of the diversity of the land, water, and original seeds for the sovereignty of nutrition of women, men, and Aymara families in the sub-central village of the municipality of Coliquiri. Why did I find this topic important and for who it is? I think that it's important and necessary for the indigenous people of the Nara for many reasons. I'm talking about, there are many reasons for this. One is to preserve the cultural and ancestral wisdom, to keep the knowledge and life and the practices, and then they can be transferred from generation to generation. And this is important about nutrition, to have more autonomy and more sustainable for food sovereignty. And this will be reducing the consumption of the companies that are going to be imposing on us what we have to eat. And also to talk about environmental sustainability, because it contributes to the regeneration of our ecosystems. And it's also important because they will help us to mitigate the environment. And we'll talk about the empowerment of women and the indigenous towns of Aymara, because they can decide what to eat and also protect their lands as well. Here I have the direct questions and auxiliary questions that I have. I have four. One is what is the ancestral placement of the Aymara towns in terms of the care and defense of the land, water, original seeds, and food sovereignty? Also, what are some of the structural factors, historical structural factors, and from context that have make the impact and the complexity of the ancestral care of the land, the water, and the original seeds? How was women and men, the Aymara women and men of the South Central Villa Anacota have faced the impact of the external factors that challenge the impact of the safekeeping of the land, water, and original seeds, and what collective proposals the people have stated for the care of the water, the seeds, and the food sovereignty of women, men, and the Aymara families. The key questions for the research is, what are the ancestral systems of women, men, and Aymara families for the care and seed and restoration of the water, land, and original seeds that sustain the food sovereignty in the sub-central Villanacota in the municipality of Coliquiri? My general objective is to identify the systems related to the care of the original seed that sustain the food sovereignty of the towns. The specific objectives are four. One of them is to contribute to the recovery and positioning of the essential planting of the town of Aymara in the terms of the care and defense of the land, water, and food sovereignty of the subcentral Villa and Anacoda municipality of Paikiri. Then it's to establish the structural historical factors and the context that have created an impact in the center's knowledge and the care of the land, water, and seeds and food sovereignty of the Aymara families in the subcentral Villa Anacota, and to identify the adapted practices for the women and men of Aymara in the subcentral Villa Anacota to face the impact of the external factors that threaten the preservation of the land, water, original seeds, and their food sovereignty. And also, I want to achieve the co-creation of a collective proposal of the women, the men, and the Aymara families of the substate of Villa for the care and defense of their land, water, original seeds, and their food sovereignty. The epistemology that I have, or the main factors that I want to talk about are the research, the ones that I were able to find, is the systems, the central system, the care, and the restoration of the Aymara town. We're going to do a research on the diversity of the cosmovision of Aymara, the importance of land as of the cosmovision of Aymara, the water as the link of the sacred and the vital of the Aymara culture, the importance that water has for them, the original seeds as the genetic heritage and a cultural heritage of the Aymara towns, food sovereignty of the Aymara town, reservation about it. What does it mean to be a Aymara woman for them as well? What it was mean to be an Aymara man, and the transition of the knowledge, of the central knowledge, how has that come about, and how this knowledge been transmitted on times to this day, and state as well the ancestral of the Aymara town, their cosmovision of the Aymara people, and the factors, historical factors for the colonization as well of the Aymara town. How does that look? The resilience of the Aymara town in terms of their care of their lands, of their seeds, and the land and the water and the food sovereignty. And how are they taking care of this, of all of these factors as well? The research of the research, I have 4 chapters. Chapter 1 would be the cosmovision and the culture of life of the Aymara town in the defense of their lands, water, seeds, and food sovereignty. Chapter 2 will be the historical and structural factors in the erosion of the central knowledge and food sovereignty of the Aymara towns in the subcentral Villanacota. How these factors in their nationalities and transnationals and how they're being imposed, the agrochemicals in the lands, how is this affecting them? Chapter 3 is the restriction of women and the men against the external threats. There is their lands, the water, and food sovereignty. And chapter 4 would be the collective proposal of the care and defense of the land, water, and seeds, and food sovereignty of the women, men, and Aymara families in subcentral Villanacota within the municipalities. The people who constitute and going to be requested on, we're talking about this about with 5 grandmothers and grandfathers between 70 and 100 years old, if I can find more better, because they'll be the ones who are the keepers of the transition, of the traditions, and the knowledge. We're going to talk about 14 men and women between the ages of 45 and 69. And we're going to find the farmers and the keepers of the seeds. And they're the ones who are healers as well, who are going to be consulting with them. I have 25 women and men of Aymara between 25 and 39. They are all authorities on the field. We're going to be supporting my research and proposing as well, providing us as well with logistic support and also the dialogue and the collaboration with the different communities that we're going to be visiting with. I put 5 youth, if I can find more probably, because many times the youth are also migrating to the cities. Unfortunately, but if we can find 5, it'll be great. Who can help us within the community and talk about the topic of investigation. Bolivia is in the center of South America. So the region is going to be taking part in the Department of La Paz. And then you have La Paz right here. The red dots is the municipality of Colquiri. And then it's going to be the mapping of the cities of the municipality. And then the subcentral Villanacota is here. This is the one that I've been mentioning. It's this one over here, which is numbered, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see this. And they make about some centrals of 4 communities. And this community is Cachani, and there's a Conapan communities, and Coipoco communities, and communities of Rani, and the communities of Cambiri, and the community of Caitali. And it's gonna be in this place. I'm gonna be like 30 minutes away or an hour away. Basically in this place, we're not that far. And the seasons of the research is the period that are going to be taken from 1952 to 1979. So we're going to be discussing with the elder, the agriculture reforms that we had, and then we have in Bolivia, by the government of Victor Paz, where they have that indigenous women there. And every government that came in, they also stated their own latest policies, and always important to consult with the communities and the elder as well, especially what it was that the importance of the land, how was it adopted, who were the ones who were being privileged in this process. And I put here 1990 to 2000 because there were another successes, events that happened, like the land, and how we fought to not privatize water, and how this affected the communities as well. And then 2021 to 2024, because we have other events that happen with the new political constitution of the state, and we were able to be plurinational Bolivia, and how this has changed as we have been plurinational to all the communities, how this have an impact on the whole communities. And the methodology is going to be participative and collective from an intergenerational dialogue. All of these are going to be participating in a way that we're going to have a horizontal relationship with the men and the women who are elder. And they're going to be taken into account, and the relationship of the women and the men, they're going to be participating. And the Aymara, there's something thinking, the feeling and thinking, the language as well, the proper codes, and the communities that are own of the community. They all have their own reforms, their knowledge, and the different points of being, and the place where they're located. And in the stages and the moments of the research are I put a preparation and here the research, which is what we're doing right now. We're gathering data, which is going to be taken into account with the guide, and we're going to be looking for, like I mentioned, with the Scholar, Google Scholar,
visitas a las comunidades, también se va a realizar
visiting the communities,
juntamente con las comunidades el análisis y síntesis de los resultados,
and then the analysis and the response analysis right now, interpreting the data and the creating reflection about it, the evaluation of it, and feedback,
y la presentación del proyecto final.
and the presentation of the final project. And then this is the timeline here. This 5-month period, like just what I'm doing right now. Here's the preparation and the design of the research. Here we're going to be gathering we're going to have the activity and the presentation of the project in the communities.
En el mes de marzo, tal vez un tanto en los primeros días de abril, pero y esto ya tiene que avanzar. ¿No? La recopilación de información y datos
The presentation.
que ya se está haciendo también, pero también se va a hacer, aquí me doy cuenta también.
And then also we're going to be, I was going to find out that this is another activity here with the communities, directly with the communities.
Perdón. Bien. También se va a hacer un análisis.
We're also going to be doing an analysis of the results. This is already in the May-June period, in 2 months. Interpreting and reflection, that's going to be with all the community and all the people that are being involved. And the ones who are going to provide us input, they're going to be part of this analysis in the month of June. Then the evaluation and feedback, there's also as well with them participating. And also going to be putting some support there. And we're going to be doing with them as well. And then the drafting of the document, I'm stating from now, from April, when we start towards the end of April, so that I can have it ready so that by the last month, which is the final presentation of the project, in the month of mid-July. And with that, that's my presentation. Thank you. Yes, pagare, which is the Aymara word for thank you. Thank you, Liz. We thank your presentation, the proposal, and the feedback will be pretty good as well. And the contribution will make it be amazing. I know that from the cosmovision of Aymara, and providing you that voice and the strength of the women. And you're making an emphasis here of the women, families, and men. And they were saying, it can't be only working with women when all of this situation of land and seeds and water is linked to the food sovereignty. So we have the family being impacted and the men being impacted as well within the process. So thank you very much. Now, Angela, so you can provide your contribution as well, and then contribution questions that the participants might have. So Angela, you're up first. Thank you, Lorena. Thank you, Elise. It is a crucial work that we have here, where you have looking at the men and the women in the family. So this is a big contribution, and I think it's a contribution. And the work. And this also have a difference that is very important because you're going to be gathering the voices differentiate, and there's like, if methodologically you're going to be able to work with all these women at the same time, and you create different spaces for them. For strengthen the voices of of the men, the women. Because there's a motivation here. And I want to understand a little bit more, methodologically speaking, how you're going to handle this. And the second is, see here is the importance of this with the seed, the water, the territory.
Y entonces aquí me preguntaba, cuando hablas de los tiempos y de las
When you talk
temporalidades,
about the time, with Jeneline, you also, I need to revisit with them 75 years of history, because you have a historical milestones happening in this period. So when I look at this, the case of the two, I feel that do not mandate too broad of a topic, that you can probably, it's not the temporality of 1950 to 2024, because that would make you make a historical study to go more in depth, but you're going to select some historical milestones for the men, the women, and the families related to your topic, to your question. And I'm thinking probably that you could use historical work that already been done by other researchers, indigenous researchers, and Aymara, who they have done in the past, and insist in that you can use work that has already been done. Like Lorena mentioned, teacher Lorena said that are dignifying, that they are an exercise of strengthening as well. And that's why I thinking like, in the other part is also, when you talk about the variables, you have a lot of variables, because obviously you have a cosmovision as a whole. You have a cosmovision here, and you have 14 variables here. And just to define this 14 concepts, this 14 variables, that's going to take a big chunk of time. And I don't know if there's something that could be that are close to you, like one between and the other, that probably you could try to put them together. I know it's hard. I know that sometimes the methodologists are very unbearable in that sense, but at the same time, I just want to say this to you because I'm worried about the time. That's my biggest concern. So how can you try to pick a couple of variables that they can be there with as researchers, because for the more being, because you have a population and you have big alliances and you have 50 people that you're going to be working with. So I was thinking that when you go there to put the conversations and the questions, if you have so many concepts and so many variables, it might take too long or your own and you're talking about your own tiredness and the stress that we can all get from ourselves. Things silliness that I know that are still very important, but please remember the reader doesn't know, or it's going to be a bit about the presentation. They're going to talking about Bolivia. So give all that data to the people who's going to be reading you, because sometimes it's going to be somebody in the international corporation going to who has no idea what we're talking about. So let's say about the richness of the projects. So there. put the data you consider important that are very clear from the get-go. And imagine also like Osamai, where we're talking about her. And there says you are, or you come from an original town with that cultural strength that allows you to have that cultural aspect and put those concepts into practice from the cosmovision, from the Smile cosmovision. So I just want to put them there. And from there, in your questions, so that I know that they're there. And for this might be difficult because you might not feel sometimes the need to do it, and you got to take advantage that this is a key moment. This is crucial and historical so that you can put your name, be used. So you can put also overflow your own language, your tongue, the project. And well, congratulations. Thank you very much. I think this is a very important project. So thank you very much. Thank you, Angela, for your feedback, for time. I think we're gonna leave. I don't see the time here, but the participants. Thank you, Liz. I'm gonna review a bit as well the coverage. I think there's 8 communities, and we probably redefine the communities and other aspects that we have there that are very important. And make an emphasis here that that Liz is here. It's related to the when Jenny was talking about to the Academy for Life and environment. So I feel that this particularity has and make an emphasis in that sense and put it looks broad, you know, but it's all interrelated. It's all weaved together, and we need to understand more about it and because we're thinking about it, and we see the weaving, we see the whole process, and we're gonna make an emphasis in some point. Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you, Angela, for your contribution. We now welcome Jesse, who is gonna also present to us and encourage the ones that already learned it and continue doing this process, this protocol, this research plan, so that we can all, although it was on time to untuck this, and there's all of this knowledge. Thank you and welcome, Jesse. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Good morning.
Welcome
It's a
to
pleasure
all
to be here
sisters. It's a
in
great
this
pleasure
research.
to share with you.
Ahí me pueden decir si se ve.
No,
Can
no se ve.
you tell me if you can see it? No, we can't see it. Full screen, welcome. My project is titled The Millenary Cosmoknowledge of Nahuatl Women. It is indigenous territory of Mexico. And the presentation, you're going to see
Simbólica la relación, ¿no? entre el tejido tradicional
very
de ir tejiendo, ¿no? Un proceso que a veces es un proceso que lleva tiempo, que implica
my process.
como toda una serie de colores desde la visión, desde un pueblo, ¿no? En este caso del pueblo náhuatl.
Of a peoples, in this case of the Nahuatl people.
Considero que es importante y para quienes, pues primeramente compartir estoy planteando sí, específicamente realizar esta investigación con las mujeres indígenas como
and I want to do this research with the indigenous women.
Sistémica con las mujeres precisamente
with an act of justice, an
porque
epistemic justice.
en mi territorio los hombres participan
In my
mucho, ¿no?
territory,
que tienen que ver con el ambiente,
men are very participative in terms
cultura,
of
son
environment,
hombres, ¿no?
are in front of the committees
un
of
papel muy
water, of culture.
tienen toda una serie de prácticas, de experiencias, de sentires,
Society.
que sin embargo, pues no son valorados, ¿no?
However, they're not valued. They're also not given the opportunity to participate in these commentary positions or public positions. And my ethical position as a researcher does imply to provide a process, to provide a boost to the participation of Indigenous women in these processes. As women who have knowledge from the Nahuatl culture, and likewise for the recognition of their lives and their fights in the daily fights in taking care of life and taking care of the environment, to be able to promote the involvement of women in the political
La pregunta
and
central,
community life.
¿cuáles son los conocimientos milenarios de las mujeres del pueblo náhuatl en la Huasteca hidalguense que aportan
the millennial knowledge of women
de la escasez del agua,
that provide
cultivos
to the
en el
care of nature,
Tengo cuatro
in the
preguntas auxiliares. La primera tiene que ver con cuál es el planteamiento cosmogónico y político de estas mujeres, ¿no? Sobre el cuidado en torno al agua, la tierra y a las semillas.
which is what is the cosmogonic and political ideas that Indigenous women, the Huasteca Indigenous women have on water, earth, and the seeds. What are the causes and consequences of pollution and scarcity of water and mono agriculture in the life of women and in taking care of Mother Nature? The third question is, what are the strategies of the women in the Huasteca region for the taking care and conservation of their ancestral cosmologists before the impact or in the face of the impact of contamination and water scarcity? And my fourth question is how to strengthen, promote, and make public the ancestral practices and actual practices to take care of Mother Nature, seeds, and water from the strength of women. And for this, my general objective is to provide help to the recovery and the promotion of the ancestral cosmologists of the Nahuatl women from Huasteca Hidalguense that contributed to taking care of nature in the face of the impacts of contamination, water scarcity, and mono agriculture. And this is going to be done from a collective perspective, for which we establish 4 specific objectives. The first one has to do with identifying the cosmogonic and political facts or establishments of women in the Nahuatl and Huasteca area in the face of taking care, or in regards to taking care of water, earth.
Contaminación, la escasez del agua y monocultivos en la forma.
The second is to establish the causes and consequences of the contamination or pollution and the scarcity of water and monoculture in the way and the survival of the ways of life and ancestral knowledge and taking care of nature. The third one is to identify the strategies of women in the region, the Huasteca region, to take care of their knowledge, their ancestral knowledge in the face of the impact of pollution and water scarcity. And the fourth one is to provide a support and strengthen the promotion of the ancestral practices and actual and current practices that take care of seeds, Mother Earth, and water from the strength of Nahuatl women and their cosmovisions. These are my epistemologies from the feeling thinking as a researcher and as an Indigenous woman, which is the millenary cosmologist of the Nahuatl people, what is to be a Nahuatl per people, and what it is to be a Nahuatl woman. Also taking care of Mother Nature from the Nahuatl cosmovision, nature from the Nahuatl people, the Huasteca Hidalguense, what does the territory mean? the Nahuatl cosmogonic establishment and the political establishment, water and its care from the Nahuatl perspective, earth and its care from the Nahuatl perspective, as well as the seeds and their care from the Nahuatl perspective, environmental pollution, water and land pollution, structural causes for environmental pollution, to reflect from the ancestral practice of the Nahuatl people, ancestral practices for the conservation of the earth, water, and seeds, and strategies to reinforce and defend the earth. And but from the looks of it, it looks like a lot of concepts, but a lot of them are interrelated. And as people's, it's impossible to talk about the care of seeds without speaking about water and earth, because there are no seeds without clean water, without a rich earth, fertile earth. So a lot of those are interrelated, and these lines are going to broach specifically the subject specifically from the cosmovision of the Nahuatl people and how they do things, how they feel, how they live, how they do every situation. So for the chapters, I have established 5. The first one is to characterize the Nahuatl people from the Hidalguense Huasteca, or the Huasteca Hidalguense. So Nahuatl territory covers 5 states, but I want to specify the environmental aspects of my territory, which is the Huasteca Hidalguense, specifically regarding to the Hidalguense people. The second chapter, it speaks about the cosmogonic aspect of the Nahuatl, women of the Nahuatl people, of the Huasteca Hidalguense for the conservation of Mother Nature. The third chapter will be the impact of the depredation or the depletion of nature in Nahuatl women, their cosmogonic point of view and their ways of life. Chapter 4 is the strength and resilience of women in the face of the depletion of nature. And chapter 5 is the roads for the reconstitution as women.
Entre las personas que constituyen el corazón y la razón de ser de esta investigación están principalmente al centro las mujeres indígenas.
The heart and the
de este
of this
territorio,
research is
así como pues las autoridades
of the
como
territory, Huasteca
más,
Hidalguense,
¿no?
as
Para
well as community authorities and the Huasteca
es el
or the Huasteca Society and
previo.
government.
El colectivo del cual soy parte, ¿no?
And of course,
y
collective is that
la comunidad o
and I
territorio
need, which is that
investigación
I'm part of, and I need their authorization. And the
Tecacahuaco e Itzocan. Esto no quiere decir precisamente que voy a trabajar con todas las mujeres de estas comunidades, ¿no? Sino son aproximadamente entre 10 o 15, ¿no? Las que son curanderas, rezanderas, las que trabajan los rituales. Entonces, la población es entre 10 o 15 mujeres, ¿no? La temporalidad de la investigación se está planteando más o menos unos 30 años atrás, que va de 1994 a la actualidad en el 2024, porque es
the
un
period
periodo,
of the research will be done from
¿no? En materia de cambios sociopolíticos, económicos que han impactado directamente o muy fuertemente en estos años en la dinámica de vida de los pueblos, ¿no? A partir sobre todo de la implementación del Tratado de Libre Comercio, ¿no? Yo recuerdo con mi abuela, y ella me contaba desde su memoria, ¿no? Como me decía que antes no había mucho plástico, ¿no? Que para ir al río a cargar agua, pues no tenían cubetas de plástico, sino eran estas ollas que se llaman chichapales, que son de barro, ¿no? Y que además duran muchísimo tiempo, ¿no? Y dice mi abuela, pues las cubetas de plástico de ahora rápido se rompen, ¿no? Y antes, pues los chichapales, las ollas, pues nos duraban mucho.
And how, for example, and she would also tell me how it's been changing. For example, giving me the example of having a clay pot versus a plastic vessel, and how it's they changed their ways of life to fit modern times. And so the idea is to make visible these changes that have happened in this period of time. So in my methodology is qualitative initially, but from a critical perspective, and from this kind of research that tries to build from the sidelines of the indigenous communities, placing in the center their own methodologies, their own research methodologies. For this, it's very important that intercultural focus that makes an emphasis in ancestral cosmo knowledge and women knowledge specifically. And through this dynamic, or this dynamic is going to develop through conversation, workshops, interviews, drawing as well, possibly. And the main principles of this research, well, are the consent, the previous consent of the authorities, of women, also to conduct ourselves with a lot of respect, with a profound listening and conversation from the perspective of our women, respecting their confidentiality and their humanity, and a commitment not just with women and with people, but also with the process of research, and our own intercultural methodologies that are based in our mother tongue, and how these concepts are named and how they are lived. The ritual, the Matia Connecti, which is when you bathe the baby, the blessing of the seeds, amongst other rituals and petitions, for which I have established 7 phases in the research process. The first one has to do with a with a public and informed consent, and to establish this situation, this consent, or regard, or ask the consent from women and hear their opinions as well as authorities. The second is to plan this process. The third is referring to participative research from and with Indigenous women. So the actual research process, which leads to a collective construction of a network of women, Indigenous women for defense of nature. 5 has to do with the analysis and the systematization of the research process. The 6 has to do with drafting the final research paper, and the retribution of knowledge and the process itself of the research, and a collective agenda of incidents that is meant to be built from points 3 and 4. So my research schedule is stipulated as follows. This first step, the public consultation, has a series of activities which we hope can happen in the last week of March. The planification of the process that is already happening since February, and we're already fine-tuning some aspects. The participative research phase, which is one of the largest points of this research, one of the biggest processes of this research, so that we can establish, we also do a conversation session with some Indigenous women. So we're going to do some coordinations to install the different resources we will need. We also establish the interviews, the participation in the baby baths, and also in the seed collection, and we're going to do that in May. And the different information that has to do with the conversation sessions between May and July. And these are just proposed times, because we in the country are in a time of election, so it's a little complicated, and even it's a risk to meet, especially in rural contexts. But the idea is that we're going to try to make this happen in the best possible way. The next part is the process of the research, the organizing of the information gathered, and then to move on to drafting, which I think is going to be in June, July, and also the follow-up of the collective agenda that would be in August, give or take, which we will also ask the women when we could do this, because we have to present the results of this research and provide a follow-up to the activities. That's my research. That's my presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Jessie, for your wonderful presentation, just like the other sisters. I think we're in this space to weave and unweave. So now we hear Angela with her comments. Thank you, Lorena. Yes, well, definitely it's a project that's very interesting in dialogue and with Liz and Jenny Lynn. I think that you made me realize when you make that schedule that indeed this is not 4 months, it's 2, because March is over, right? So it would be April, May, and I think that this is so important, which is that you're proposing, which is a writing period, which is 1 month, and then June, July, we're all preparing to travel, do the presentations. So I think it's important, this planning exercise you did was very important. Again, I think that the strategies that you propose is very interesting, of relating the different variables so that in these months you can have, let's say, time and some concepts that are going to help you to think about writing, because when you talk about writing, in the end, it's the most worrisome. And so it's important that you were able to narrow down your times, because you establish what fits on the page, right? So I think that you had everything very organized and planned to the point where you already did, which is something that it's very important to be able to do for Asia and Africa, with whom we're going to meet on April 2nd with the same exercise. You have already thought how you're going to return, how the exercise of returning the information to the community. So again, with a lot of respect, just making a loving warning to ask yourself if really in 2 months you're going to be able to cover all those communities and those years of history. I know that all of you have a lot of previous experience, so maybe you already have some work that has been already done in these communities and in these territories. And just tell you, thinking about Samai, who was also saying that her thesis statement was done in a relative subject, that it's completely valid to bring everything that you have already done before. And here maybe it's a moment to, right, Lorena, to kind of bring together and get the stew off of the oven, of how do you materialize all that information in that report. But I feel like it's very wonderful, the projects and the methodologies. I would give some more time to explain our own methodologies, because sometimes they're just because they're ours, we know them very well, and your community knows them very well, but the people from the outside don't. So remember to have that moment to explain what is your methodology about, and the baby bath and things like that. What do they consist of? This is an opportunity for other people to learn about these methodologies and they can be inspired by you and hopefully imagine this application. So my recommendation that I would give you is zero limits, because that's where you have to do the exercise of justice, epistemic justice, and the conceptual exercise. The rest, I think, is not as crucial, and that's where you have to kind of do the emergency of that knowledge of your people and of your research, working with them. I admire you, Lorena, of how something so important that's happening here. It's my first time in this kind of seminar. I am very in awe of you and of how powerful and important that I will never get tired of saying that is happening here. So thank you. Thank you, Angela, and thank you to Jesse. Also, I think that where we say we're going to put our studies, our case studies, a lot of strength is our cosmovisions, it's our language, our original languages. For example, in the methodological process, to rename these stages from our languages and from what is the consultation or the planification, what that building of knowledge in the field is very important. Eileen was doing that exercise of naming the stages of research from her cosmovision. So invite you, Jess, Elise, and Samai to rename these methodological processes and define these methodologies from your original languages because you speak them. That's the biggest strength that we have when we speak our own language, because our cosmovision and our philosophy of life is there, and it's understood from our languages. And also invite our sisters from Asia and Africa to do this exercise. I think it was an act of bravery and humility and Abiayala to be here and present their proposals as they're moving forward. And the homework is, how do we give our feedbacks? We thank Angela her feedback. To those of you who ask questions and comments. And I would like to ask if anybody else from the participants that would like to share something at a general level, what they thought, how you feel with your presentations. But especially thank you, Jesse, Lise, and Samai, and Janiline. The road that we have already moved forward, we think of time. We have some things we still have to limit it, we have to establish. I know our cosmovision, I can't stop thinking of the seeds if I don't see the water. We were talking about that when we were doing the tutoring. I can't talk about research and recycling if I don't link Earth. And when I see the last three research Jesse, Elise, and Janiline have, they're linked together. And so we have one that talks about water, one talks about agriculture, and the other about the cycle of life. And I think you're going to do studies, and Samai that talks something very specific, which is sexual violence from women, and very strongly speaking about the elderly women, which has not been visibilized. And we talk about sexual violence from the perspective of children, of women, but not elderly women. To bring that forth is important. Another general comment is the studies, the case studies need to bring strength to collective memory, to strength. If somebody from 100 tells me a story, the history, they tell me the history of 200 years back, because they're telling me the stories of years back. And I think that I also want to highlight how the Sisters of Abya, they cite historical situations in their territories, or facts in their territories. I think that's very important. And we have to establish it in the plan of the case study and also in the document, how these historical facts, like for example, the agricultural reform that Dirling was mentioning, another sister was presenting the free trade agreement, and another one, the plurinational state. Those are different facts or moments in time that are marking us as originary people, and they determine the life of Mother Earth and nature. So our three studies are coming together because they are similar, and they recognize Earth and natural assets like part of the network of life, not like objects, but as beings that exist and think. And from them, our existence depends on. One with emphasis in economy, one with sovereignty, and another one more specifically in life. And so I think that when Samai presents her proposal, she doesn't link it from Cosmos and Mother Earth. And another important topic that came from the presentation is how do we recover that strength? That's another emphasis that we wanted to add in the studies. One, recover the knowledge, which are not written down. If our grandmother or a grandfather gives us information, they give us 200 years back of knowledge, and we couldn't write it. And what gives me happiness is that these studies will allow to bring into paper from their knowledge and from their cosmovision this wisdom that have been registered, and they will be registered for future generations. Another element is that we are not isolated. We're in a context where those historical facts, that neocolonization, that racism continues, and how does it impact us? Because our knowledge are not isolated in a crystal ball. Our systems are surviving, resisting before these impacts, in the face of these impacts. And another subject is to make visible that before that problematic, we are not just hitting and we're becoming victims. No, women, children, peoples, they have actions of resilience, of fight, of collective fight. And that we do want to leave it and have it be witnessed. And in the end, we identify the strength and the problematic, and what do we have to do in the face of all that? What is our road with that? So from there, we have these collective sessions, these incidents, proposals. And the most important part is, how does this return to the community and the peoples and women and grandmothers, to their grandmother that's going to share her life with us? And I think that that's what's most important. Then Shobha was saying, we continue in the road. That's wonderful. We don't stop. And finally, a final element would be the epistemic justice. All three researchers are establishing that. What is an epistemic justice? It implies to recognize, but not just in saying, but also that in our studies we'll reflect those epistemologies, those cosmo knowledge that are named, felt, and said, if they could, in the original language. And to do the translation, not on the other side, I'm not going to translate justice from in this language that is not mine. I'm going to present justice from my equiche, in my case. So that's the work, and it's not my work, it's the work that we're going to recover and what we're going to learn and dialogue once we're on the territory with the community. That's what I would like to comment. before I give you the floor, what did you feel, Vivian, Liz, Daisy, Mili, Naili, Nukila, what did you feel when you heard all this? Nukila, raise your hand. Welcome.
Thank you, Lorena. I just want to add what my reflection after I heard from the presentation from my sisters. Lorena has already explained. I think I hope Angela will be patient with my research question. I think I need to reformulate my research question completed correctly, because it will help me to set up the answers of my my proposal, right? And then help me to plan my research. Also, this research question might also help me to foresee any potential challenge or problems on my research. And also, yeah, it will save my time and my energy as well if I really formulate. I can after I formulate the research question, I can do like a more clear objective chapters, and the analysis after that. I think yeah, that's my learning from the presentation for today. Thank you so much.
Gracias, Nukila. ¿Alguien más, Nay?
Thank you, Nukila. Anyone else? Nice, Vivian? Me? Go ahead.
Bienvenida, Vivian.
Welcome, Vivian.
Okay, for me, I would like to thank my colleagues for the amazing presentations. And I would like to say that I have really learned from them. And of course, the comments that our tutors made, I'm going to integrate all of them in my proposal, and of course, my research, to ensure that it is well structured and it captures all the intercultural methodologies. And of course, the findings will be used to address the issues that are affecting the women. Thank you.
Nay, bienvenida. Gracias, Vivian.
Nai, welcome. Thank you, Vivian. Nai, go ahead.
Thank you, Lorena, and thank you, Angela, and then my sisters who have just presented. It was so productive in our side, and also to integrate in our daily life as the indigenous communities, because from the first presenter to the last one, I observed a number of issues that are related with the place where I am, and how to restructure the question for further intensively understanding the community, because actually working with IPs, it needs a number of patients, as you said, and also to make it to give them the justice that they really want to understand the whole process to acquire knowledge, because this is a knowledge that are not written anywhere, but these are knowledge that we can acquire in a systematic way, as all my sisters have just presented. And actually, I just want to appreciate you, Angela and Lorena, for good feedback and good more elaborative understanding of how to continue constructive our questions, the specific objectives, and even to further know how we can work on it. This was very productive to my side. Thank you so much, my sisters, and to our teachers.
Gracias, Nay. Si hubiera alguien más.
Thank you, Nai. Is there anybody else from my sisters from Asia and Africa that would like to participate? Daisy, for example, anyone else? And if not, I'm going to give the floor, because we still have some time, to you, to Samai, to Jessie, Liz, Jenny, Dom. I don't know if you would like. I think I see you with your camera. Do you want to say something? How did you feel? And how this exercise helped you? Has helped you?
Yeah, it's so inspiring to listen, and also to recognize common passion to clarify the voice of women, Indigenous women in our different contexts. Although different, but I think there are commonalities, and yeah, all the diverse efforts to articulate our voices. It's very beautiful process and very beautiful moments and space to have this conversation. Thank you.
Entonces, pues gracias a Don. Si hay alguien más de las compañeras, todavía tenemos unos minutos, le pediríamos, si no, brevemente, ¿cómo se siente? En una palabra, ¿qué siente su corazón de Samay, Jessie, Liz y Jenny? Después de haber pues ya pasado esta etapa donde todavía tenemos que seguir hilando y deshilando.
Yo siento felicidad y motivación. Gracias por todo.
¿Sí? ¿Samay?
Sí, también siento mucha alegría.
I feel a lot of happiness to know that we're all hand in hand working together. Is what I feel now, at least with my sisters from Latin America. I know that in the next session, we're going to feel the same way with my next sisters from the other continents. I send all of you a hug. Jenny, how do you feel? Well, I feel very happy to continue in the process, and I like that I feel the support of all my sisters from all over. I feel like we're all together and they all bring something to the table, and it helps my work and all of our works be better. Thank you, Jenny and Samai. Liz? Likewise, I feel very happy, but I'm a little scared. But I also have that excitement that we're fighting and working in the same line or in the environment as well. Thank you so much to all of you. My time is 10. I don't know if you all have the same time. But I just want to remind you for Africa and Asia, I think Angela's accompaniment has been key. We have the relation between the main question, and from there you do your direct question or auxiliary questions. You, from each of those questions, you convert that into an objective, and that you turn into a chapter with a name that is suggestive and interesting. And then you're going to have the next process from each auxiliary question. We have our specific question. And with that, we build our research guide, and we're going to see from where we're going to get all that information.
De los pueblos originarios. Entonces, con eso, como para
and
dejar
what's going to be our strength. To leave this clear that this is in the research, and we're on sync with Angela, and it's a gift to be able to accompany you, and we'll see you on April 2nd, which is the next one for socialization. Angela, which is a company and Asian Africa, is going to give us the time. We're going to establish a special program, and we thank Shoba and Alika, who are not here yet anymore, but were with us in this journey. Have a good day and a good afternoon and good night. And I hope you can rest. And thank you to the 4 Abya Yala sisters. We continue weaving. Have a good afternoon. Thank you, Angela.